Alright, what's up gamers? So, I want to start talking about the Backrooms because, like, as of recording this today, it's like, I saw it Saturday, or I saw it Friday night, excuse me, and today's Sunday, so I'd like to discuss my opinions about it and, give it the old good Zoom meeting rating. But first, I want to talk about how people were expecting this movie to be like how the Backrooms are depicted in, like, YouTube shorts and shit, which I absolutely fucking hate, because it's so stupid, right? Like, people were expecting Backroom to have, like, oh, the movie is going to be the guy going through all the different levels and trying to escape and whatnot. And he's like, escaping all these scary monsters, and, he goes down a slide and, you know, gets eaten by a monster. But, like, that's not really what the Backrooms is, if we can be honest. That's not really Kane Pixel's vision of the Backrooms. Like, if you go watch his Backrooms videos, you'll get what I'm saying. It's like, that company, it's like more mysterious and not just like a video game, like, oh, you got to advance through these levels and then you can escape. It's just like a mystery, pretty much, which I enjoy far more than the levels, whatever the hell. And I'm really glad that he went that direction, because the movie would have been like 5 times worse if it had been the other way. But I think that, I'm going to get this right off the bat and say that the movie, I think, was an 8 out of 10 because it was pretty good. I really did enjoy that movie because I really liked, like, the shots and, the way that they filmed the movie. They filmed it on an old 90s camera, like, to show that, hey, this is taking place in the 90s. And then also the handheld camera parts were really cool. I really enjoyed that. I was really hoping that would be like the majority of the movie. And it's I'd say it's a combined like 20 minutes maybe of that footage, which I think is really cool, and I did enjoy that part. I just wish there would be a little bit more, but I'm fine with what we got. The way that a lot of the shots are framed, it really reminds me of like Wes Anderson movies, because it'll go like weird shots, like, looking up at a character, making them look super large or something. And I just think that the cinematography and the way that the movie was filmed was really cool. And I think if there was one movie that they would film it like that, it would have to be Backrooms. I also really like how they kind of expanded on the lore of the Backrooms and stuff. Like, to preface this, I have not watched a lot of Kane Pixel's like Backroom series. I've seen like the one popular video that everybody knows, and that's about it. So, I've heard he said it was like tied into the series, I believe. So I'm kind of in the dark about that. But what little explanations we got about how the Backrooms work and how it generates stuff and how it is pretty much like how they describe it in the movie, trying to describe a dog to somebody who's never seen a dog before, and then trying to get them to draw a dog. And I think it's a perfect explanation for what's going on here. Like, all the freaky ass entities and all the weird rooms and shit like that is pretty much like somebody misremembering things. I think that's pretty brilliant. Good job, Kane Parsons. I also kind of want to mention like the scare factor of everything, because I wouldn't say it's the most scary movie ever. Like, it's unnerving at times. Like, it got me a few times whenever, like, for example, the seagull no-clipped into the room and, like, hit the wall and made a loud sound. That got me. But, and then that scene with the Christmas tree and then the lady, the light coming on, the lady, like, freaking running out all weird like, that was creepy. It's more unsettling than it is scary, I think. And I like that. Also, I don't know how much of like the set was VFX and how much of it was practical, but regardless, it was all really cool. Like, there's not really many ways to mess it up, but I'm really glad they went with, like, pretty much recreated the entire original picture that was posted on 4chan, kind of started the whole thing. And then they, like, just all the weird architecture and the steep slopes and the weird doors everywhere and yada yada, and the weird pool rooms and like shit like that are all really cool. And I think they did a great job on that. Like, it's really sells the unsettlingness of it. And I really hope most of it was practical, because that'd be really cool. But, like, one of my only gripes with the movie is the ending. Now, I'm gonna spoil it a bit, so, like, I'll put up when I stop talking about the spoiler alert, like, somewhere in the post. But when, like, the ending happens and the Mary girl is talking to the scientist about, async and whatnot, and he's kind of explaining it. I was expecting like a little bit more of a lore dump, and then they like probably send her back in there. or just leave her there. You know, in the back rooms, just cuz or whatever. But they kind of just he's you kind of think the scientist is going to give like a little bit of an exposition dump, but literally the only thing he says is like, you know, async, we used to make MRI machines and now we don't. And that's it. And then it like shows how the Backrooms has, you know, memorized the people that were just in there and made copies of all the shit that they've experienced and whatnot. And then it ends. That's it. I really was not expecting that. I did not expect the movie to end like that. I at least expected a little bit more of a lore dump and then like to send her back into the Backrooms. But it just kind of ended a little bit abruptly, and for that, that's why I'm docking off like 2 points. It's why the movie's only like an 8 out of 10 for me. Everything else about it I really liked. But to kind of loop back onto my point I mentioned like at the very beginning about how people were like assuming the movie was going to be different. A lot of people I've seen are calling the movie boring, and that is not necessarily true at all. I really just think a lot of people have terrible attention spans because compared to like the other big horror movie out right now, Obsession, a lot of action is happening in Obsession. Like a lot of, you know, creepy shit's happening, you know, screaming and crying and whatnot like that. And that's not really what the Backrooms is as a movie. You know, it's a lot more slower paced, it's a lot more chill. You're not supposed to be afraid of like the people per se, you're supposed to be afraid of the surroundings around you. And I personally like that a little bit more than like, you know, the scary demon that's possessing that girl in Obsession. I am a little bit more frightened by the mystery and complete unknowingness of the Backrooms. And I think it's really a lobotomite take to say that the Backroom movie is boring simply because there's not gore and action and people dying everywhere, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Backrooms movie, I was literally expecting to be slower paced and, you know, to really jump out and scare you when it wants to and then cool it off. And that's what happened, and it delivered. So yeah, like I'm saying, people who wanted the Backrooms movie to be like the levels, like a video game, like how it is in YouTube Shorts, and like to be scary monsters and shit and saw blades and whatnot, and like gore and action to be happening all the time. It's a lobotomite take. Like just go watch any other horror movie. Go watch Saw, man. Like I don't know what to tell you. The Backrooms is a different kind of horror than that, and one that I really like. And I'm hoping to see a lot more movies like this in the future. Please, for the love of God, do not make this a franchise. I would really much prefer this to be a one-off thing than for it to be like, here's a sequel, and then here's something else that happened during this, and then, you know, have a big fucking backroom cinematic universe. I'd rather eat a bucket of broken glass, like genuinely. We have plenty of cinematic universes as it is. We don't need the Backrooms cinematic universe. Like, you can add, like, maybe another movie that explores, you know, something else about the Backrooms. But please, just make it 2 at the max if you're gonna make another one. For the love of God. Like, you know, like I just said, we don't need more cinematic universes. But to round things out, I really like the sets and the dressings and, you know, all the VFX and whatnot. I didn't really talk about the story on purpose because I'd rather, you know, you guys watch it, you know, than me sit here and explain it. I really only mentioned one story beat. 3, people who were expecting like an actual like slasher, you know, Saw type movie, fools. And number 4, please don't make this a cinematic universe or anything like that. And 5, I forgot to include 5. The movie in general was really good, but the ending was what kind of like docked some points off for me. So in total, I'm giving this movie an 8 out of 10 on the Zumbini scale, which is pretty good, all things considering. This is like one of the last movie I saw in theaters was Iron Lung, and I was writing a review on that, but then I just didn't edit the video, and it kind of just got stale, so I just scrapped it. Maybe I'll talk about Iron Lung some other time. Indie horror movies are back, twin. Or I say back, they're in the forefront, twin. But anyways, time to close out the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.